All right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine, and Pipeliner CRM, joining you from kind of gloomy San Diego today. And Pipeliner CRM is now Coe, as you can see behind me, that side. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Chad Coe. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me on your show.
And remind me again where you are.
I'm in Northbrook, Illinois, by Chicagoland.
Absolutely. And you're the founder of Coe Financial Group, a leadership and mindset coach who helps executives, professionals, and business owners create more opportunity through confidence, authentic connection, and clear strategy. And known for his giving first approach to networking, you are the author of the power of peopleizing, peopleizing,
People ties. People ties.
peopleizing, and the confident leader. Uh, so that's what we're going to talk about. So tell me, what is exactly is peopleizing, and what's the difference between that and just networking?
So people tizing for me, as I networked for many, many years with groups up to 300 people a month, was
Hmm.
about being thoughtful, caring, sharing, and mentoring. If you walk into a networking room called a chamber of commerce or kind of like a BNI, everyone's there to sell you something.
Yep.
What is it like to have authentic sales where you could genuinely care about the person you're interacting with so that when they hire you, it's a relationship instead of just a sale?
Right.
And so I
Absolutely.
use the ability, my natural ability to care about other people and where they're at in their life, and then to try to help them and encourage them to have a bigger, stronger, faster life where we also help find confidence so that you could do the things you need to do to get where you want to go.
Hmm. So, what does that look like for a sales professional, like leading with value and service? What does that look like in the real world?
So in the real world, I have a new client of a few months who said today or yesterday that she feels like I'm family.
Mm,
When she showed up in my life, she said, I saw you online. There were things that you said that I trusted. I'm going to come in and visit you, and I have some money I want to invest. As I sat with her, I didn't really care much about the money. That's the attitude I have, right? The
mhm.
attitude is, how are you being treated, and how do you find your abundance personally, professionally, and financially so that you can live a happy, grateful life of fulfillment?
Mhm.
And so she said she has an advisor that tortures her, tells her all the things that make her upset, and isn't nice to her children, her adult children.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's not very fun. Let
Yeah.
me share with you how I would operate. I'll listen to what your values are and what you care about. I'm going to learn what your goals are. And we're going to create a plan to be able to make those happen for you so that you could live a happy, fulfilled life.
Mhm.
So when she calls, I pick up the phone. When she texts and has something that she's got on her mind, I call her back. When I communicate with her kids, we're sharing and teaching them about money and what future thinking looks like
Right.
so that the money that's put away can grow. And the different experiences, instead of me talking about taxes and investing and diversifying, what I talk about is you tell me what it is you want, and it's my job to help you get there.
Mhm.
And because we have a fee agreement, I'm going to be there for you for as long as you live.
Right.
And
Right.
her and I have this relationship now where I'm helping her find her way. But I didn't come into the relationship saying, how much money do you have? How could I
Sure.
manage it? Here's my fee. Here's why you
Mhm.
should hire me. Here's why I'm so great.
Mhm.
It's little about me and more about them and how they feel and how they want to feel going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a great summary of that. And tell me so give me the genesis of the book, The Power of Peopleizing. Where did that come? Where did that idea come from? And what are the core principles in it?
The core principles are about being able to communicate with someone in an honest way and to be able to ask questions that are pertinent and are about them. So if someone says to me, what do? I give them one sentence. I'm a financial advisor that helps you retire and stay comfortably retired.
Mhm.
If they don't ask me follow-up questions, I'm going to ask them 20 questions about themselves,
Mhm.
see what they need in their life to be able to have a more fulfilled and better life, whether it's introductions or business or family. And then I stay true to that. So the idea around People Ties is an intro book to help people know that connecting and networking is the future to making sales or do business.
Hmm.
My second book, The Confident Leader, was about how to take peopleizing and be confident and have an aura or a way of being about you so that success shows up where it looks easy or natural versus forcing it or doing it in a timeline that's forced versus the universal timeline, which is sometimes things take longer than
Hmm.
you might think. And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I have a gentleman right now. I've been working with him for a year. He picks up the phone, he communicates, he shares with me. I know a lot about his life. We even have a little bit of humor in our conversations. He's made 2 appointments and he's canceled both appointments.
Mm.
I let him off the hook easily and just let him know that it's okay that you're going to miss. Can we schedule out for a week or 2 from now? And he
Hmm.
does.
Hmm.
I know from 25 years of history that the likelihood of him signing up is actually very high because he's communicating with me, picking up the phone, and sharing with me his honesty around why he can't make it to the office on the days that we chose.
Right, right.
Different than being angry or upset or having the attitude he's not going to hire me or he doesn't want me. My attitude is everybody wants me, everybody likes me, and everybody trusts me until they don't.
Right, right. And that's really and what you outlined there though is really important because I mean you have to be your own cheerleader, right? You have to be, the person who you've got to pump yourself up. You've got to set your value as well, and go into it. And what you're talking about is you're going into it with a peer relationship. And unfortunately, a lot of people approach these from a point of view of like they suddenly put themselves subservient to the buyer.
Right. And I learned early on, I'll give you a quick story. When I was doing bookkeeping and then I did about 400 tax returns a year, I
Wow.
charged $50 a year because that's where my self esteem and that's what they always charged.
Hmm.
My dad would sit next to me with the same tax return and he would charge $200. And I'd say, Dad, how do you do that? And he would say, I just ask.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they just pay it. And I said, okay, well, that's great. So when I got in the financial service business, I brought it at the attitude of 32 years old that I'm going to be a professional with first class service. I'm going to charge a fair fee and I'm going to have the confidence and the demeanor that I'm worthy.
Mm.
Now I own it and I fast forward, 25 plus years and I'm very successful at having the attitude and the feeling that I am great at what we do. It's up to the people that choose to hire me to feel that way. If
Mhm.
they do, I'm going to give them that A plus first class service. And if they choose to find somebody else, then they're matching their energy with the other person that they choose. But
Yeah.
I'm going to be there for those people that want me because I've now made that a habit.
Mhm. So what are some what's your advice? What are some of the habits or activities that people, especially says people should be doing, weekly or daily to make sure that they have that they're good referral partner network?
So, very easily, I think that people need to really sit down and figure out what it is that they need and they want in this world. As an example, if you're doing commercial real estate, what is your niche?
Mhm.
If you're in sales selling drapery or carpet or you're doing mortgages, it doesn't matter what you're doing. The key is you're doing something. Now you have to figure out your niche, communicate the niche, and then make it about them.
Mhm.
Once you make it about them, the trust meter goes up. And now if they trust you, they like you and they like your energy, now they will start engaging you because they're judging you
Mhm.
about what it is you do and seeing if they could figure out a way to work with you, refer you, hire you themselves. And as they do this the right way, the trust meter ends up being positive on both sides.
Mhm.
So you could do referral business with each other if the opportunity is there. I
Yeah.
think that people rush and don't understand that the 3% rule is out of 100 people. There's 3% of the population looking for what it is that you have today.
Mhm.
How many people have you touched to get to that 3%?
Yes.
Most people don't touch enough outside to be able to get yeses
Mhm.
because they quit at 10, 20, or 30 people. The
Yeah.
number's 100. So as you reach 100 people and you're getting not getting business, now when you reach the next 100 people, you have 6 potential people out of that 200 that can say yes and hire you.
Yeah.
People need to slow down to be able to speed up, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. And then one of the things that people are really suffering from now, obviously, is ghosting and people never reply, all of that kind of stuff. What is your antidote to ghosting?
So if anyone's listening to me about ghosting, they're not ghosting you. They're testing you. I've called people for up to 2 years. They finally pick up the phone, thank me for my persistence. I've had people that have hired me for, call it, millions of dollars, and we have an ongoing trusting relationship. But you have to remember that it's their timeline, not yours,
Mm,
and they're testing you. So it's text, call, and email. It's follow ups. It's adding them to your newsletter. It's showing them that you're persistent. People love persistence. If they ask you not to, then you could stop. But very few have I found that ever asked me to stop. And I do find that people do hire me after a year or two of persistence and thank me for it when they finally pick up the phone or come into my office and see me.
yeah, because that's a different attitude to going, well, I'm ghosted. That person. Well, blame it all on them or whatever, rather than saying, okay, um, as you said, timing may not be right for them. There may be other stuff going on. I may be the bottom of their priority list right now, but things could change. But I mean, taking that kind of approach as opposed to just because it's frustrating, and a lot of people just get angry and go, well, forget you, Chad, if you're not going to reply to me. After a while, they just stop and move on.
Yeah. So it's not about you, it's about
Yeah.
them.
Hmm.
And you have to be patient about them. And if you want to be in the top 1 or 2% of your industry, patience and faith are two of the keys. Behind me, I have a picture of John Wooden's pyramid. Patience and faith are at the top of the pyramid.
Hmm.
Success comes from persistence, patience, and faith, and having something that other people want, and knowing that when they want it is when they're going to buy it.
Hmm.
And you have to have a rhythm to being able to do the reach out, I believe, so that they have the ability to say yes when they're ready. But
Yeah.
if you're going to be short tempered, short spirited, and not have the ability to give yourself time and space, I believe that you're short selling yourself and that you're not going to have the wins that you could potentially have.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. And then tell me, sometimes people they have a great first call, right? And they're pumped up. Everything's fantastic. People are excited, all of that. But then it doesn't go anywhere because sometimes, like people the follow up or the next step, or they don't really know how to do it. What is that? What have you seen from people who have the great initial contact, but then it falls off?
Oh, I have in my world, I have people that actually commit to signing the paperwork, review it, and hire me. And they trust me. We have a great rapport. We've had even a
Mhm.
couple of meetings. I have people that wait a week to 6 months to do the paperwork because it's like going to the gym. You could go, but it doesn't mean you work out.
Yeah.
It's what's their sense of actually follow through to the things that they commit to.
Mhm.
The other question is that I found is if they're not doing the paperwork or actually following up or finishing the paperwork, they have something in their mind, a limited belief about what you said or what you're doing that's causing them a stoppage to finishing the paperwork.
Mhm.
I've learned to ask what's stopping you from signing the paperwork, and now I proactively share with people what the answers are before they get the paperwork. So as an example, there's going to be stuff in the paperwork that doesn't apply to you. I want you to know that ahead of time. I want you to know that you have this, this, and this to look at. It doesn't apply to you, or if it does apply to you, this is why.
Mhm.
And I find that people have a tendency to move forward when they get all of their questions answered. But there's also going to be a percentage of people that just don't have the guts to be able to just tell you the truth, that they just don't want your service
Mm.
or your product.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a tough one too. Yeah, and sometimes it's a cultural thing too as well if you're doing business globally. But it is a tough one. Um, so So you have to then, in situations like that, though, you have to be confident and you have to be organized and you have to say, okay, like I this is a process and it's not something that's you can have a great first call and maybe things fall off a bit, but it doesn't mean that you can't revive that either if you course correct.
Everything is revivable because it's about timing, it's about their
Yeah.
timing. We have such limited beliefs about what selling is or what sales are. We have to shift our belief to the fact that everybody wants to hire us and use us for the services that we have. So
Hmm.
we're going in and manifesting the idea that we're going to make sales because we could visualize and see the fact that they're going to come in your office or speak to you or Zoom with you and move the needle forward. And by the way, if they don't, it's not about you. It's about the timing of the relationship just might not be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everybody who's in sales, it's a numbers game. Life is a game. We
Hmm.
have to learn how to be patient. We have to learn how to visualize. We have to learn how to ask. We have to learn how to give. And then it's if you do it enough, you're going to win.
Yeah. And this has become, I think, even more critical than it's ever been now because of obviously AI and people are getting very leery. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they're saying people, there's AI agents calling and they're getting answered by company AI agents. So, it's so and everything's getting, and people are getting a bit frustrated now because they're getting bombarded. This raises the human connection and the relationship up another level because that's really what's coming through loud and clear is that AI is fantastic for a lot of things, but people still want that human element.
We understand today that we always want a human element because the word is soul.
Hmm.
So, what is your soul? What's inside of you? What are you exuding? What are you sharing with the universe that allows people to want to communicate with you? As an example, I see in front of your mouth you have a microphone.
Hmm.
If I called you today and wanted to sell you a microphone, what's the likelihood that you're going to buy it today?
Very little, to be honest.
So the timing might not be good today for
Mhm.
that microphone.
Mhm.
But what happens if you realize you need to have a backup to the microphone you have and you internalize and you actually believe that?
Then it's a completely different story, isn't it?
So, given that it's a different story, how are we communicating what it is that we share with others where they actually need what we have? And AI is the facts. But here's the
Mhm.
other thing, we are a buying community, we're a buying society. People want to buy. It's
Mhm.
our job to get through to them and use the words that resonate so they pick up the phone or they interact with us in a way that allows us to share with them what we do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what is the way? I mean, what is the difference between persistence and coming off as pushy?
I believe that we have to trust our gut.
Mm,
I make phone calls, texts, and emails when my gut brings them to my forefront and tells me it's time to be able to reach back out. I'll start by communicating with people every day, then every other day, then every other 5 days, and then every other week, then every other 2 weeks, and then every month. But the key is I communicate at a level where I believe that I'm reaching out where they should have enough space and time to now pick up the phone if they choose and to be able to have an interaction with me.
mhm.
And the bottom line is it's right for how you feel. There's no exact answer for how often you need to reach out or communicate. I say you reach out at the pacing that you feel comfortable with and trust your gut.
Yeah, and what I like about that chat, I like that a lot because I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday, and I was saying that even before the latest wave of AI, before everything was, do you remember it was big data and everything was data and everything's data driven and every decision, you have to have 50 million metrics for this and all that kind of stuff, and now AI, and we've really relegated gut instinct and experience and all those human elements. We've kind of relegated them, but so I'm glad you raised that again because I think that is a key element that AI can't replicate, right, certainly right now, is that gut instinct and the experience, and even, let's face it, as you say, sometimes you feel when it's right. You even feel physiologically that this is the right time or this isn't the right time, or what I'm doing isn't doesn't feel
Right.
like the right thing.
Yeah.
And those are intensely human traits that we really need to make sure don't get lost.
So, two other fun things are I would always ask, "Are you happy?" And they'd say,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I'm happy." And you could say, "Would you like to be happier?"
Right.
Somebody says to me, "Are you able to negotiate?" "I'd like to negotiate." And I'm saying, "I could always charge you more." And
Right.
so the laughter and the giggles and the sense of relief is we're here to work together and there's humor in what we do. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, what I do is very serious. But I want to connect you and let you know that I do have a soul. Life can be fun and that we're going to work together to achieve the goals that you have. And it doesn't matter what I'm selling, it just matters that I'm here and I'm going to be the person that's going to take care of you when you have a question or need. I just hung up with a client, him and the wife, and they said, "We have a couple questions for you." But they started by saying, "You know what? I think you might be the only person in our life who actually picks up the phone all the
Mm,
time. How many people do we have as a service provider that doesn't pick up the phone and waits hours or days to get back to you?"
yeah, and that's if they give you a phone number.
So I'm service first.
Mhm.
And service first works in the industry and the space that I'm in,
Yeah.
consultative selling, making it about you, playing without fear. As a matter of fact, I used to cold call the operator just for practice,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
They're
there
not
you go.
allowed to hang up and they were nice and they had money. So it's like, why not?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as you do enough of this, fear goes away.
absolutely. Well, listen, Chad, this has been fantastic. All of Chad's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Just Chad Coe, financial advisor, also a charity auctioneer, speaker, author, and just all around fun guy who loves relationships. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm out there because I want to be able to give back to the community as the community has given back to me. Thank you so much, John. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, listen, fantastic, Chad. Thank you. Thank you also for watching and listening. See you all again very soon. Thank you.